October 13, 1972, a small chartered aircraft carrying 45 passengers including rugby team, their family and friends. They were flying towards Santiago, but on the way they had to cross huge Andes mountains, which is the longest mountain range in the world. At 3:21 p.m. suddenly terrible turbulence hit. The plane started shaking, warning lights began to flash, and the pilots suddenly realized they were moving straight toward a huge rock. In a panic, they put maximum power into the engines to gain altitude and fly over the peak, but unfortunately it was too late. Out of 45 people on board, 33 had somehow survived the crash, and the painful story of survival had just begun. Most of these people were from coastal areas and had never seen snow before, and now they were suddenly trapped in a minus 30 degrees Celsius at high altitude without proper food and water. On that day, they saw 3 aircraft flying over them. They screamed and waved their hand to make the aircraft notice, but unfortunately they were unsuccessful. On October 21st, 8 days after the crash, the search and rescue team gave up, believing there was no point in continuing after so many days. After 142 hours of searching, the operation was officially stopped. 11 days after the crash, the survivor turned on the small radio and come to know that the search operation has been cancelled and the entire world considered them dead. The survivors ran out of food and realized they had no choice but to eat the bodies of their friends and family to stay alive. On December 11th, 59 days after the crash, this food source was also running out so fast. This situation couldn't get any worse, but then a massive avalanche hit the wreckage. 8 people were lost in the snow and suffocated, leaving only 16 survivors. The next day, the survivors realized no one was coming to save them, and if they wanted to stay alive, they needed to look for help themselves instead of waiting at crash site. Canessa, Prado and Vizinton were the strongest, so they took the warmest clothes and set out without any mountaineering gear to climb the glacier. On the morning of 4th day, they realized they were running out of food. Vizinton decided to return to crash site. Prado and Canessa kept hiking. After 9 days of trekking, on December 20th, they finally reached a valley where they spotted 3 horsemen across a river. Prado tied a note to a stone explaining that their plane had crashed in the mountains and 16 survivors were still trapped. The man understood and rode for 10 hours to alert the army. Soon this story made international headlines and Chilean Air Force launched a rescue mission. 70 days after the crash, the remaining 16 survivors finally left the Andes behind, ending one of the greatest survival story in history.